Get your Big East headlines here. The Mountain Men from West Virginia. They almost won it last year. Can they do it this year? Or will it be another Bronx tale as the pride of the borough, Carl Krauser, leads the Pitt Panthers against their arch rivals? Check it out right here, right now.
Like this crowded concrete island, the Big East is densely populated, and it only got better when it got bigger. Let's go! They've gathered here to separate, to step up, to shine through, to stand out. The West Virginia Mountaineers and the Pittsburgh Panthers bringing the basketball version of the backyard brawl to Broadway. They all want to carve it in stone, pound it out on their chest. In the bigger Big East, we're the best.
This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name.
It has been quite a day of basketball here in New York City as Championship Week presented by 7-Up rolls on, or the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, the fourth and final quarterfinal of the day, and now the evening session. The day began with a bang as Syracuse in overtime upended Connecticut to advance to the semis. Georgetown a narrow victory over Marquette. Villanova in impressive fashion beating Rutgers by 32 to advance to the semis. And now we've got West Virginia and Pittsburgh. Dan Shulman and Len Elmore, they call this the backyard brawl. This is a real rivalry. They don't like each other very much. They've split 2 meetings already this year. This is as good as it gets in this league pretty much in terms of rivalries.
Well, only about an hour and a half between both campuses by car. And the bottom line is this year they split their 2-game series. At Pitt, West Virginia didn't shoot the ball well. Pitt got to the free throw line, played a physical brand. And at West Virginia, they shot the ball very well from beyond the arc, and Pitt turned it over 17 times. So each time at the other guy's place, the opponent wasn't on their game. We're at a neutral site right now, so anything can happen.
And a real contrast in styles. You can't find 2 teams who have less in common in the way they play than these 2.
Well, absolutely not. And again, you talk about the experience factor with West Virginia. They've got 5 seniors who play an awful lot, very determined, excellent judgment, very deliberate. And then with Pittsburgh, you got Carl Krauser, a senior, but then there are a lot of freshmen and sophomores who have to play key roles. And sometimes Carl Krauser believes he's got to do it by himself. We'll see today if the experience factor makes a difference.
Let's check out our Star Watch, and we're going inside of the big fellas. And again, a contrast. Yes, they're both centers, but they're very different kinds of players.
Well, Aaron Gray, you see what he was able to do at home, and he got inside an awful lot, hit the boards well, and taken out of the game in West Virginia. Kevin Pittsnogle couldn't think of a more nightmarish evening on February 9th. He went 0 for 12, and then he came back with a vengeance at home, feeling a lot more comfortable and a father.
In the last year and a half, Kevin Pittsnogle, though the word Pittsnogle has become a household name, it's become a verb in many parts of the country as well. And for more on Mr. Pittsnogle, here's our Mark Jones.
Yeah, if you are an opponent of West Virginia, you don't want to get Pittsnogled. You know, you go back to last February 5th of a year ago. No player has made a more prominent rise nationally than Pittsnogle. There have been several national magazine articles done on him, featuring him on the cover. Several websites devoted to him and his tattoos. Kevin Pittsnogle now part of the vernacular in Morgantown and beyond, guys. Meanwhile, on the other side of the court tonight, Pitt without Levon Kendall, their starting forward, out because of lower back spasms. A little bit of news. Kendall woke up this morning with a sore back, did not respond to treatment. Right now listed as day-to-day, even for tomorrow, guys. Back to you.
All right, Mark, that's a loss. Kendall with 4 blocks against Louisville last night as we check out the starting lineups now, beginning with the Pitt Panthers. And in the backcourt, Carl Krauser, who's been here in this building, in this town so many times before. The sharpshooter, Ronald Ramon, a terrific outside shooter. In the front court, Aaron Gray, named the most improved player in the Big East. He led the conference in rebounding during the regular season. For West Virginia in the backcourt, J.D. Collins and Joe Airbear, who were 1-2 in the league in assist-to-turnover ratio. West Virginia takes great care of the basketball. We talked about Pittsnogle. Mike Gansey's a guy, another first-team All-Big East performer. This is a talented bunch. The nucleus is back from the group that went to the Elite Eight last year. Tonight's telecast is available in stunning high definition on ESPN HD, brought to you by Dish Network. West Virginia in gray, Pitt in dark blue. Each team winning on its own home court. This is the first time these two rivals have met in the Big East Championship, and the Panthers get the first possession of the game.
It's very important for Pitt to control tempo, execute in the half court, and obviously not turn the ball over. They've got to limit the West Virginia touches. West Virginia's so tough in their half court because of Pittsnoggle's ability to stretch defenses.
Gray going right up strong, missed the shot, and then a foul committed by Sam Young, I believe, going over the back. And it is Young, the freshman, stepping in for the injured Levon Kendall. Last night against Louisville, Pitt did the same thing. Pounded the ball inside time and time again to Aaron Gray, and they roared out to a 33-5 lead in the first half.
And a lot of it also was the defense. And again, Pittsburgh very good at extending and playing good, solid man-to-man. The interest will be whether or not Pittsnogle can pop out, take Aaron Gray away from the basket.
Which he's trying to do right now. Good start for West Virginia. They live and die by the three, and Pittsnogle, their center, is as good at shooting the three as anybody on the team.
And that's the definition of being Pittsnogle. 6'11" guy steps out. Your big man not out quickly enough, and he buries a three.
Not much choice, though, for Jamie Dixon. Aaron Gray's an all-league performer. He's got to have him in the game, so he's got to have him on Pittsnogle. Otherwise, he'd have to cover a smaller guy who shoots the three just as well. Young stepped out of bounds.
And that's 2 turnovers for Sam Young, replacing the junior Levon Kendall. And there's Pittsnogle, a little pop after he sets a screen. Set the screen right there. Gansey curls, and Gray just not quickly enough out there. Now, if Gray gets out too quickly, Pittsnogle will go back door.
Pittsnogle 40% from beyond the arc on the season, averaging better than 19 points per game. Here's Airbear from the corner. His three is short.
And that's the one guy, Dan, on this team that you don't mind shooting a three, only 24%.
Although last year he shot 38%. His shot mysteriously off in his senior season.
Maybe he's got too many difficult classes carrying that 4.0.
A 4.0 GPA, a political science major. Joe Airbear from Germany.
Aaron Gray's got to be careful to keep that ball up in the air. J.D. Collins running around, sneaking around with quick hands.
Good defensive set here for West Virginia. Shot clock's at 3. Now Krauser's aware, and a foul with 1 second left on the shot clock. A good job by Krauser to really get Airbear back on his heels.
Well, again, we talk about experience, and this is the one senior. He recognized shot clock going down, put his head down trying to get head and shoulders past Airbear. He recognized that it was Airbear, not quick enough to stay with him.
Krauser had a terrific night last night against Louisville with 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Shot the ball well. Nice feed inside. And we talked about the upside for Sam Young. You just saw some of it.
Well, Sam Young, extraordinarily athletic. He was actually behind the basket, and the defenders forgot that he was there.
Freshman out of Clinton, Maryland. Young averaging about 8 points, 4 rebounds per game in only 19 minutes per game.
And take a look at Young right under the basket, right there. Nobody knew he was there. Pittsnogle didn't see him because he wasn't in front. And then that type of athleticism to come from behind the basket and dunk.
West Virginia will play a variety of defenses. They were in a 2-3 there, which is what they do on the out of bounds. Generally, they play a 1-3-1 zone most of the time. But again, Pittsburgh has played them twice a year for several years. There are no surprises between these two teams. Gansey being defended by Ramon. Gansey dangerous on the perimeter and near the rim as well.
Pittsnogle got to see that he's got the smaller Ramon on him. It's good to get a jumper off.
Gansey misses the step back jumper. Frank Young picks up the loose change.
Frank Young's one of those guys that'll surprise you. He can shoot the jump shot with the best of the West Virginia Mountaineers, but he's also a guy that hangs around the basket, as you mentioned, picks up the loose change, very active underneath, knocking balls loose.
Young's a junior. The other 4 starters for the Mountaineers are seniors, as is their first man off the bench, the coach's son, Patrick Beeline. Airbear the rebound. Krauser stops the ball, little bump, no call. And now West Virginia, once they get into their set, they're deliberate. Everybody gets a touch.
Well, Pittsburgh's success against West Virginia has a lot, and there's yet young man again.
J.D. Collins for three.
Frank Young keeping it alive, but I was saying that the Pittsburgh success in staying competitive with West Virginia has a lot to do with their defense and pressuring the ball. Here's that 1-3-1 half-court trap that creates so many turnovers. But as we saw when Cincinnati played this past weekend, the key is to drive the ball towards Pittsnogle. Make him step up and then look for your guys along the baseline pinching, because look who's down there. 5'10" J.D. Collins.
Right near 7-footer Aaron Gray. Penetration by Krauser. Jump shot for Young. He has both Pittsburgh buckets. Maybe the nerves are gone after a couple of turnovers. Young's into the game now.
And how about being a freshman? You know you're going to play, but all of a sudden somebody tells you, well, Levon can't go. It's up to you, my man.
Yep.
You are going to have some butterflies.
A spot in the semifinals on the line against Villanova. Knocked away by Gray. Loose ball to Airbear. No look past Pittsnogle.
And I tell you what, J.D. Collins got away with a hold against Carl Krauser, who would have had that loose ball. And Collins grabbed them, and that's the way these two teams play. You mentioned they don't like each other, and they'll be willing to do anything.
They've been playing for 100 years. The backyard brawl is underway at the world's most famous arena inside the Garden. The world's most famous arena. West Virginia off to a good start, up by 6. Len Elmore is going to show us how getting a loose ball can be a team effort, as it was for West Virginia.
Well, you call this whatever it takes to save a turnover. You take a look here, loose ball, and right here in the middle of your screen, look at J.D. Collins holding on to Carl Krauser. Krauser would have gotten to that ball and created a fast break the other way. Instead, Collins prevented him from getting there, and it turns into a bucket. And again, these two teams, obviously we talked about the heated rivalry. I'm sure Carl Krauser has done that a few times.
Yeah, once or twice,
Collins.
Krauser is senior, actually almost 25 years of age. Went to prep school for a couple of years, then redshirted. People will remember Brandon Knight, the tremendous point guard who preceded Krauser. They intersected for 1 year in Pittsburgh. Knight is younger than Krauser. Krauser thought about going to the NBA, evaluated his draft prospects, decided to come back. Got a lot of help on the perimeter. Antonio Graves has checked into the game. That's him with the ball right now. Over to go baseline. Ramon, though, will put up a three. Gray, the offensive rebound. Collins took it away and then committed a foul. But you talked about it already. Gray keeps bringing that ball down.
And Collins, who's running on the baseline, is looking for those opportunities. Gray with a nice offensive rebound. Look where he brings it. Right below his waist. And that's right in J.D. Collins' eyes.
That's 5'10", stripping the ball away from the 7-footer. But Aaron Gray has had a terrific season. As mentioned, the most improved player in the Big East. Went from about a 4.3 rebound a game guy to 14 points, 10.5 rebounds. Gone are Chris Taft and Chevy Troutman from last year. Gray has stepped into the void and become a terrific player. First team All Big East.
Well, he accepted the challenge this summer. A rigorous workout regimen. Also playing ball against some of the top players in the NBA in Philadelphia. Got him ready mentally, no question about it.
This is a tough assignment for him because of Pittsnogle spending so much time on the perimeter. Everything that Aaron Gray has spent his whole life doing and learning defensively does not apply in this game here tonight. Airbear on the drive. Nice look away, but he missed the layup.
Use the left hand. Got to use the backboard as well. Didn't get enough of it.
Airbear, the senior from Germany, has his parents in the house here tonight. They come every year for the last home game in the Big East tournament. Levance Fields with the ball, another freshman. He and Young, part of a very talented freshman class for the Panthers.
And again, these guys are going up against seniors, guys with a tremendous amount of experience. Look at Gray, just keeps going to get his own shot.
Boy,
you got to put some of them down, though.
He was only 4 for 13 last night. With a little better touch around the rim, he'd be a monster.
Well, he's worked hard enough to get here. He's got another summer of work to perfect it.
He's had a terrific year. He lost Pittsnogle, and Pittsnogle missed the layup.
Sometimes you wonder if that was too close for Pittsnogle with his range. And his success, probably not used to being under there that free.
As Mark Jones mentioned, the breakout game for Pittsnogle last year against Pittsburgh. Dior Fisher came down with the flu. Pittsnogle stepped into the starting lineup, had about 27 points, a huge second half. West Virginia won in overtime, and they rode that momentum all the way to the
you
final
got to
eight.
make those. And Krauser's even getting a little upset. That was a mismatch with J.D. Collins. Krauser took Pittsnogle outside to create the mismatch. Gray has a point-blank layup and just misses 2 of them.
He has missed 4 in the last 2 trips down the floor. Air Bear with a travel. What's going on around the rims here, Len?
Well, I'm not sure. Again, Pittsnogle, he's expecting some contact, I think, and just doesn't follow through. But here, there's Pittsnogle way outside on Aaron Gray. I mean, on Krauser, and inside on Aaron Gray is J.D. Collins. And Gray, instead of taking his time locating the rim and using a height advantage, rushes it up. You got to recognize the mismatches and take full advantage.
Gray sits down 0 for 5 from the floor with 5 rebounds, almost all of them on his own misses. Patrick Beeline is coming to the game now for West Virginia, number 3, a long-range shooter. And in the middle for Pittsburgh, Tyrell Biggs, another freshman. 3 of them getting big minutes here tonight. It's out of bounds to West Virginia.
Well, here's where Levon Kendall would make a difference. Kendall with good hands, good around the rim. You know, he'd be one of those guys that could be the recipient of a Fields or Krauser pass, as Fields and Krauser dribble and handle well enough to get into the gaps of that 1-3-1.
And if you weren't with us off the top, Kendall the junior from Vancouver back at the team hotel with back spasms. Gansey is fouled by Fields, and there's where Gansey is so smart and so tough. He's just kind of lurking on the perimeter, but boy, does he have a nose for the basketball. One of the reasons John Beeline recruited him after Gansey decided to leave St. Bonaventure after that academic scandal that the Bonnies went through. John Beeline picked up this program, which was in pieces about 4 years ago, and with transfers and his son and players who he had recruited to Richmond, where he'd been coaching, and his unique style of offense and defense, he has turned this into a national power.
And he's been a winner on just about every level, and this was a great opportunity for him to, you know, kind of start from scratch. And boy, he didn't take long.
And he wasn't the first choice. They wanted to get Bob Huggins, who's from West Virginia. Dan Dockich accepted the job, and then 8 days later went back, left the job, went back to Bowling Green, worried about sanctions that may have been forthcoming. None were. So at best, John Beeline was the 3rd choice, but it's worked out pretty well for everybody involved. That 3 knocked out of bounds will take us to a timeout. West Virginia leading Pittsburgh by 5 here in the Big East quarters. We will have a championship week update with Mr. Elmore's alma mater when we come back. 258 points, 51 3-pointers.
Do you have enough time to do that in a 40-minute game?
Wow.
You couldn't get one team out here and give them 40 minutes to score that many points.
I mean, I thought West Virginia took a lot of 3-pointers. They got nothing on Troy, Mr. Pittsnogle, who's got one here early tonight.
Dan, you're talking about Mike Gansey and his uncanny knack to offensive rebound. What he does, he gets a running start. You know, the ball goes up. He's looking for the spot where the ball is coming off, and he's got a running start. Whoever's guarding him can't turn and watch the trajectory of the ball. They got to put a body on him originally.
Darius Nichols, number 14, into the point now for West Virginia. Like the starter, J.D. Collins, a terrific assist-to-turnover ratio. West Virginia does a wonderful job taking care of the basketball. Air Bear on the feed from Nichols, and the 3 is there. 8-point lead, Mountaineers.
And one of the rare times you'll see West Virginia 3-point shooters shoot it off the bounce. That time Air Bear just dribbled laterally so he can get a better look. And with his size advantage, had no problem.
Air Bear was one of those guys going to Richmond to play for Coach Beeline until John Beeline took the job at West Virginia. He called Air Bear and he said, "You want to come to West Virginia?" Air Bear didn't know where West Virginia was, didn't know what conference they were in, didn't know anything about it. He's from Germany, but he decided to follow the coach who recruited him with great results. Tyrell Biggs defending Pittsnogle. Aaron Gray remains on the bench, although he has now gone to the scorer's table to check in. Trouble here. Nichols open. He'll take a 3. And Pittsnogle was held underneath. And a foul is going to go against Mr. Krauser. Now for more on Mr. Air Bear and his family who have come to see him here in New York, let's go back to Mark Jones.
Yeah, they certainly have. And boy, a great story of family dedication, guys. His mother and sister, Christiane and Magdalena. Check out this journey. They flew from Frankfurt to Atlanta, connected from Atlanta to Pittsburgh, drove from Pittsburgh to Morgantown. In between one of his games, drove up to Washington and took a look at the monument and around the White House. Been here for about 10 days now. And Abear, a great story, a 4.0 GPA. Learned English as a second language, also speaks a third language, guys. Really an amazingly dedicated student athlete.
He is. He's the definition of a student athlete, and he is an academic All-American this year, by the way, so congratulations to him. Pittsnogle misses the three, and another rebound as Sam Young has checked back in for the Panthers.
And a nice job by Pittsburgh, again, focused on making it one and done for West Virginia.
Nice cut by Fields, but he misses one from in close. Sam Young is the only Panther with any finish around the rim right now.
And that's what you got to do in West Virginia. You got to battle them on the boards. Again, they are at -9 rebound margin, the Mountaineers, so you can get second chance opportunities.
West Virginia is the second worst rebounding team in Division I out of 326 schools. Pittsnogle, nice little up and under, left it short. Out of bounds. It'll stay with the Mountaineers. Pittland has 3 field goals in this game, all of them belonging to Sam Young, as there's the graphic evidence of how bad a rebounding team West Virginia is, but they compensate for that weakness in many other ways.
Right. They don't turn the ball over. Only 8 turnovers, the second fewest in the nation.
They pass the ball well, and they knock down a ton of threes. More than half of their shot attempts are from three-point range.
And they also average about 18 assists a game, so they have that excellent ball movement. With so many threats out there, you never can really focus on taking away one guy.
Again in the 1-3-1 with Pittsnogle in the middle and the point guard, in this case Nichols, on the baseline as Patrick Beeline is called for the foul.
Again, we talked about, you know, both of these teams more than willing to do what it takes. Pittsnogle with just a slight push off, not much, enough to create some separation between him and Aaron Gray.
Pittsburgh taking a 30-second timeout gives us an opportunity to remind you about the Big East semifinals. After this game, we'll have only 4 teams left at the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, and one of them is the number 9 seed Syracuse, which knocked out top-seeded and top-ranked UConn in overtime today. Georgetown defeated Marquette by 3 to advance as well. Villanova, in impressive fashion over Rutgers, will take on the winner of this game. Those games also available on ESPN HD. Jerry McNamara and Syracuse, Len, at this point have to be considered the biggest story at the Big East Championship.
Oh, there's no question about it. Again, it's thought to be on a bubble that was slowly losing air, and suddenly, you know, they've inflated themselves with big wins to the point where they should be in the tournament. And the fact that they knocked off not only number 1 seed, but the number 1 team in the country, you know, at a time when people were counting them out, it's just an amazing story. And obviously the leadership of the senior was relatively maligned over the last couple of days and had his coach step up to his defense. I mean, just tremendous, tremendous college basketball story.
Ramona misses a 3. McNamara with 17 points and a career-high 13 assists in the win over Connecticut, and he hit a 3 with just a few seconds left to send the game into overtime. Young is stripped. Gansey comes up with a loose ball.
Well, a couple of guys trying to do too much right now. The guys who should be penetrating actually should be Levance Fields, and to a certain extent Benjamin, who's got the ability to do it. They should be trying to beat the gaps.
Nichols penetrates, and the lefty floats one off the glass and in.
Again, look out on the floor right now. You got 2 freshmen and a sophomore handling the ball. You know, Benjamin, sophomore as well, so not a lot of experience out there versus 3 seniors and a junior out there, or 3 juniors and 2 seniors.
Again, West Virginia, again, Gansey getting his hand on a cross-court pass. Fields the penetration. Gray in traffic, hit the bottom of the rim with his shot. He is 0 for 6.
He's rushing.
Reese, thank you. Look at Len's alma mater, and Maryland leading. Here Pittsburgh trailing Big man, tell us what Pittsburgh's big man should be doing around the rim.
Oh, it's got to be so frustrating. You got to be able to locate the basket. Aaron Gray, the biggest guy out on the floor, point blank range. Now watch, he goes, doesn't really look after he bounces. He's got to look up at the basket right there. Instead, he waits until he's in the air, and by that time he realizes that he's too far under. Now, really experienced guys are able to look down at the floor and tell where they are in relation to the basket. And maybe Aaron Gray hasn't quite gotten there yet, but he's got to learn. His team needs him.
Well, although Pittsburgh won last night beating Louisville, they had an awful second half offensively. They did not make a field goal for the last 13 minutes and 42 seconds of the game last night. And only Sam Young has made any baskets tonight other than free throws for Pittsburgh. He has all 3 of their field goals until that one by Krauser. So that's the first field goal for Pittsburgh by anybody other than Sam Young in about 26 minutes of basketball action.
And again, at the frustration level, you hope it doesn't set in if you're a Pittsburgh fan. Just got to make sure Paul Krauser gets touches, Fields gets touches, they're able to penetrate, and you hope your big guys have their hands ready along the baseline.
Gansey on the perimeter, guarded by Ramon. A good screen by Pittsnogle. Gansey over Gray, a little bit strong, and look at Young Sky for another rebound.
Actually, not a good shot by Gansey because of Gray's size. Just difficult to shoot over, but he gets it back by fronting Gray and forcing Gray to push him off.
Frustrating start for Aaron Gray. Sam Young with more than half the points, 3 of the 4 field goals, and also has 5 rebounds already here tonight. So the freshman stepping in for the injured Levon Kendall is playing very well.
But he can certainly use some help. And again, Aaron Gray has got to gather himself and understand and forget about the last actions and focus on getting the job done. Can't dwell on that stuff.
Right now on a switch, Levance Fields is playing Pittsnogle. 6'2", guarding 6'11". Gray the rebound and the missed 3 from the corner.
See, Pittsburgh doing a nice job defensively. They will stay with their men. They will contest shots. They don't get lost very often. It's really Pittsnogle that presents the greatest problem because Gray's unwillingness and inability to step out there.
Krauser on the drive. Loose ball to Beeline. Gansey the quick 3. Now, Gansey's first field goal of the night.
Now in transition, that's a different story. West Virginia will run wide, get to the corners, and force that help to come a long way.
Gansey almost got his fingertips on that pass. He's dangerous at the top of that 1-3-1. Ramon has it knocked away from behind by Darius Nichols.
Now look how wide they run. Look right here where Gansey receives all the way to the left. And it's just one pass, ball didn't touch the ground. And what happens is, in transition, you're so focused on protecting the paint, and you guys got guys who can shoot like that, and they push the ball out that wide, you can rarely get to them. They wind up with open looks.
Gansey 44% from beyond the arc on the season. Ramon trying to shake Airbear. Good help by Pittsnogle.
See, Ramon is not the guy to try to penetrate. He's a standstill, catch and shoot jump shooter.
Krauser off the bounce. It drops. And Carl Krauser with his second bucket of the night. Pittsburgh will take the offense anywhere they can find it right now.
I didn't see any Bronx sign from Carl Krauser. I guess he's already home. He doesn't have to represent.
I think they're going to check here to see if this was a 2 or a 3.
It was a good rotation. That's why he got the shooter's role. Here's a look right here. Up.
Yeah, looks like a 3.
Looks like that right foot. I don't know. That right foot is close.
It was originally ruled a 2. Now they have changed it to a 3. So it's 22-13, and Jamie Dixon will take every point he can find. The way Pittsburgh has struggled offensively in the second half last night against Louisville, and the first half here tonight.
Well, the hope for Pitt is that their defense continues to hold. I mean, you're going to give up some threes to West Virginia. But in the half court, when you force them to come down against the half court, Pitt has made it difficult for them. It's the transition opportunities that have helped West Virginia.
Pittsburgh won by 4 at their place against West Virginia about a month ago when Kevin Pittsnogle, who's going to the line now, went 0 for 12, did not score a point, and fouled out. Then West Virginia got a measure of revenge on senior night a couple of weeks ago down in Morgantown, beating Pitt by 5. But Pittsnogle just appeared to have one of those awful nights that every player goes through now and again. His son had just been born a few days earlier. It was his second game back since the birth of his son, about 5 days after the birth of the baby. And his wife Heather is there with young Quincy. Tammy there.
Well, maybe he went through one of those nights that every player has, and probably one of those sleepless nights that every father has. Every new father has.
So Kevin Pittsnogle is going to get a new tattoo, he says, in honor of young Quincy Pittsnogle.
Where? Is there any more room?
He has become a cult figure in Morgantown, all of West Virginia, and beyond. Ramon runs down the errant pass.
Look at the extended defense right there. This is where you got to penetrate.
Good recovery. Collins got in there to knock the ball away. And West Virginia just great hands and very active in that zone. John Beilein, as you mentioned, Len, has coached at just about every level. Division II, NAIA, junior college. Gray had it blocked by Pittsnogle. Got it back. Still cannot get any luck around the rim.
And the fact that he hasn't had luck around the rim is kind of hurting him and pleading the case to the officials. He got bumped.
Airbear gets knocked down as he releases the three. Pitt trying to run. Krauser pushes it into an extra gear and is fouled by freshman Alex Ruoff, or junior rather, Alex Ruoff out of Spring Hill, Florida.
And see, that's how you have to exploit the West Virginia defense. You got to have people beat that zone and beat the defense off the bounce. Either push it out in transition or in the half court, move it and look for the gaps. Get into the heart.
Antonio Graves trying to go right around Ruoff, cut off on the baseline. Pittsburgh with very little outside shooting and no easy baskets, and Gray struggling around the rim. Krauser trying to do it himself, and there's the big fella finally getting one to go.
And again, good things will happen if you hang around the basket long enough. And I think that's going to go a long way in boosting Aaron Gray's confidence.
Pittsburgh crawls back within 9, 4 minutes to go in a low-scoring first half. A spot in the semifinals and a date with Villanova on the line tomorrow night for the winner of this game. Syracuse and Georgetown in the other semi. Both semis available tomorrow night on ESPN. Collins left alone. Why not? Why not? Not known as a great outside shooter, 30% from beyond the arc, but he's 2 for 2 from 3 tonight.
And he does what you need your point guard to do. Just keep him honest.
West Virginia now 6 for 14 from three-point range. Collins called for the foul, trying to contest that pass. West Virginia, Syracuse, the upstart Syracuse Orange, fresh off a win in overtime over Connecticut today, will take on the Georgetown Hoyas in the first semifinal tomorrow night here at the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. And then Villanova against the winner of this game following at 9 o'clock. Both games available on ESPN HD. So it'll be Jim Boeheim and John Thompson going at one another in the Big East Championship. This is JT3, but Big John will be in the house as he was today.
Nice job throwing over the defense right now. That's the second time that Pittsburgh has recognized the opportunity. Gray setting himself up nicely in positioning.
So Pittsburgh gets it down to 10 under 3 minutes to go in the first half. Nice pass. Pittsnogle bobbled it away. Here comes Krauser.
And it's amazing what you can do, even if you're not shooting well, how you stay in the game with good defense.
No look pass to LaVance Fields for 3. Here come the Panthers.
And it takes a senior to lead him, Carl Krauser right now. Throwing good passes to people, getting them in position to succeed, playing the defense.
Foul on Sam Young. Krauser may be streaky and he has his critics, but every time I do a Pittsburgh game, he looks like their most indispensable player.
Well, he knows how to play. I mean, there's no two ways about it. That penetration, he knew where Fields was. And again, over the top right there, just a nice job of Aaron Gray getting behind the defender, forcing the defender to front with no help on the other side.
Foul on Sam Young, his second, so he'll sit down for the last 2:26 of the half. Jamie Dixon wants to make sure he doesn't get his third. And the foul putting Pittsburgh over the limit as Joe Airbear hits the front end. We talked about what a great student he is, an academic All-American, the Big East Scholar Athlete of the Year, a 4.0 GPA in political science, minors in Spanish, speaks 3 languages, and spends a month every year playing with the German national team in the summer. So while a lot of other students are still in summer school taking courses, catching up on their academics, he falls behind, then gets caught up and maintains a 4.0 GPA.
Well, that's just pure dedication. You love to see that, and you hope that it stands as an example for every other student athlete and student athlete wannabe.
9-point lead, West Virginia. Pittsnoggle will fire again. Left this one short. Loose ball to Krauser as Airbear and Graves get tangled up. Krauser, he wants to go all the way. And Gray puts in the rebound. All of a sudden, Aaron Gray's on his way to a double-double. He's got 8 points and 8 rebounds.
And all it took was, making that layup to kind of slow him down a little bit, get him refocused. But you can't say enough about the defense right now that Pittsburgh's employing. Really doing a nice job of helping, covering shooters.
Pittsnog a little strong. Airbear, a smart tap. Back out to Nichols. Going right back inside. Gansey misses a layup. Got it back. And finally is fouled. 6'4" in there with 3 Panthers. How does he get 2 offensive rebounds?
Well, I think he got fouled the first couple of times, but no whistle. Take a look right here. Misses that because he rushed it. Got fouled a little bit there. Then somebody grabbed. And then finally, the one that was actually called for a foul wasn't a foul. It was a good block by Gray.
Gansey, one of these guys just with a great basketball IQ, a nose for the ball, and a sense of where the open space is at the offensive end.
Well, he was just wide open under the basket that time. His teammates located him. He kind of rushed that shot. But, you're absolutely right. He just has another excellent understanding, maybe a little differently because he played in a different environment in Ohio than Paul Krauser, but both of them very high basketball IQs.
Look at Gansey get up there, get his hand on the rebound, but Krauser comes out of there with it. Finds Gray inside, and Gray is fouled. You can't fault the effort of Gray. He's given 100%. He's creating space. He's working hard. He just needs a little more polish on his game to become a real star.
And he also just needs to slow down a little bit. When you're that big and that strong, you go, you get possession. People have to react to you. You use your footwork to get better position. You don't have to rush with your hands and your shoulders.
Fields trying to shake Beeline. Pretty stuff, but didn't get him anywhere.
Yeah, that's sometimes the plight of the playground player. Vance Fields can be more than that, just like that.
Pull-up jumper. It's going to be his basketball next year when the Krauser is gone. Those around the program expect him to assume most of the point guard duties. A very confident young man.
Well, he's showing some signs that he can handle it. And again, it's pretty good to have Carl Krauser as a tutor.
Just like Krauser had Knight, Brandon Knight before him. About a 6-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Pitt has not played well, but they're in the ball game. And timeout, John Beeline, as they weren't getting anywhere. We'll come back for the final few seconds of the first half right after this. Hey, tomorrow, get your day started early as championship week presented by 7-Up continues. It's a quarterfinal out of the Big Ten. Penn State, which knocked off Northwestern in convincing fashion today, will take on the Ohio State Buckeyes in a Big Ten quarterfinal game. Let's not forget the Buckeyes, Len, may be in play for a #1 seed, depending on how things shake out. If they can win that Big Ten tournament, they'll be in the conversation.
Well, they definitely messed up my projections. A couple of weeks ago, I was calling them a dark horse Final Four team. They're more than a dark horse team.
Boy, that is not like West Virginia at all, especially out of a timeout to not even get a shot off when they knew there were only 10 seconds left in the shot clock. An opportunity for Pittsburgh to narrow the gap. Fields. And it is off Fields, out of bounds, says Reggie Greenwood. It goes back over to West Virginia with 1.3 to play.
Good idea, though. Push the ball up the floor, get the gaps.
And that'll bring the first half to a close. The Mountaineers and the Panthers in the backyard brawl with a spot on the semifinals on the line here with the Big East Championship. West Virginia leading Pittsburgh 31-24. Let's go to Mark Jones now standing by the Garden here in New York City. Look at the first half stats. West Virginia leading by 7, as is always the case. West Virginia taking a ton of threes. Pittsburgh getting more of its offense done on the inside. But really, Pittsburgh had so many chances. It took Aaron Gray a few minutes to kind of find the range around the rim. In some ways, Pitt's fortunate to be down only 7 in this game. Well,
they're fortunate, but also they've worked hard defensively. Now, West Virginia's shooting only 36% from the field. And the bottom line is they average 10 3-pointers made per game in their 20 wins. You know, they're more than halfway there. Pittsburgh's got to do at least as good a job of staying in their face. You got guys like Pittsnoggle shooting 3 of 9 from the field, Mike Gansey 1 of 5. So that tells you that Pittsburgh is knuckling down and really trying to keep these guys from getting off.
Both of these teams are locks to go to the NCAA tournament. This is about getting to the semis in the Big East Championship and improving their seeding for the NCAA tournament. These longtime rivals, they've been playing basketball against one another almost 100 years as Young misses the 3.
And I'll tell you, Dan, another opportunity for Pittsburgh is, in fact, second chance opportunities. 9 offensive rebounds. They've got 12 points. That's also keeping them in the game.
Ronald Ramon misses a clean look. Gray the offensive rebound, and again still battling for it. It's out of bounds to the Mountaineers. Gray says it was off Young, but to no avail as Gray starts the second half the way he began the first half.
Again, sticking around, offensive rebounding, but still not good enough to finish just yet. And you take a look right there, and that could have been off either one of those guys.
Gray now 3 for 12 from the floor. He does have 11 rebounds already in this game, but as we looked at the stat sheet during halftime, it appears 6 of those rebounds, they're at the offensive end, and they're all off his own misses as we go to Mark Jones.
Yeah, guys, that last sequence where Gray had those opportunities and missed, symbolic of the problems that Coach Jamie Dixon told me that they're having at the half. He wants his team to slow down and quote-unquote finish up on their shots around the rim. Defensively, they want to limit West Virginia's offensive rebounds. They gave up 8 of them in the first half. Guys?
Well, the biggest advantage Pittsburgh appears to have over West Virginia statistically is in the rebounding. As we mentioned, West Virginia is a very poor rebounding team. And of the 2 games between the 2 schools this year, Pitt out-rebounded West Virginia by 12 in one game and by 17 in the other, only by 3, as you can see so far here tonight. Gray again a touch inside, again follows his own miss, and this time converts.
And again, Pittsburgh going back to what we spoke of in the first half, having the ability, since there's no pressure on the ball, the ability to throw over the defense and find Aaron Gray.
Air Bear bobbles. Here comes Ramon.
Air Bear tried to kick it back out to Gansey.
Krauser got Collins in the air. Ramon for 3. And Pittsnoggle comes down with the rebound. That would have been a big make right there for the Panthers.
Well, I'll tell you what, Pittsburgh down 7, but one of the things that Jamie Dixon has to be pleased about is that in their 20 wins, West Virginia averages about 19 assists a game, and that means good ball movement and wide open shots. They only had 6 at the half, and that means that the Pitt defense is forcing West Virginia to go more one-on-one.
J.D. Collins with about a 25-footer. That is not one of the first plays in the West Virginia playbook. He does have a couple of threes tonight. Oh! LaVance Fields streaks all the way down the floor and is heading to the line looking for 3.
New York City in the house. LaVance Fields showing a little bit of that quickness we spoke of. Just a little change of pace dribble. Air Bear not quick enough to cut off the lane. And you give LaVance Fields a head start in pushing the ball, a couple of steps, running head start. The defense is going to be very hard pressed to stop him from getting to the goal.
He might be a little bit quicker than people think he is. He's kind of a thick guy. He doesn't look like he's got the blazing speed that he does, but he gets end to end as quickly as anybody. Panthers back within 4.
And again, look at the defense now. Ball pressure, not allowing the easy passes, and that's what you got to do. Take them off the bounce. If they're going to get up on your chest, you got to be willing to put it on the floor and go to the basket and make them pay, just like Gansey did.
Gansey into double figures now with 10. The lead back to 6. Gansey at the top of that 1-3-1 zone. Fields, Krauser was cutting. Instead, it's Ramon, a deep three.
Boy, that was 3 feet behind the pro line, and that's what Ronald Ramon gives you. He's not the guy to beat you off the bounce and penetrate. He's a catch-and-shoot guy.
In conference play, Lanny shot 51% from beyond the arc, first in the league.
Again, look at the defense now. Ball pressure, making it difficult to pass the ball. Again, Ronald Ramon, deadly from 3, and all that was just one-step penetration and then kick it to your wide-open shooter who flowed into it. And look at Ramon in Gansey's chest. Gansey puts it on the floor and takes it to the basket. No shot blocker in the middle for Pitt, so you do that without fear.
Frank Young misses a free. J.D. Collins, of all people, comes down to the offensive rebound.
Got away with a little push-off, too. Arm extended in the back of the Pitt defender. Wasn't caught. So Ramon's giving a little more room now.
Boy, tough pass right there. Pittsnoggle. And look at who's underneath the rim. Mike Gansey got a piece of the ball, and it's out of bounds to West Virginia. Gansey made that handoff pass and then was part of the play underneath the rim. Again, he's just got a nose for the ball.
He does an excellent job, again, of hanging around the perimeter, waiting to see when the ball is shot where it's going, and makes a beeline.
No pun intended. That's pretty good,
to that
man.
spot.
You've been saving that one all year?
Just came to me, Dan. Just came to me.
Pittsnoggle over the extended Aaron Gray. And you do have to feel a little bit for Gray. It's just not something that a 7-foot, 270-pound guy is supposed to do. Chase another guy out beyond the arc.
And look for West Virginia to go to that even more now. That screen and pop. Nice pass.
And Gray with the finish inside.
And it all begins off the bounce for Pittsburgh. Krauser and Fields, if they can penetrate, as I mentioned, get into the gaps, they're going to find some folks under the basket.
The big guys, the high scorers for their respective teams. Air Bear misses a layup. Here comes Fields, full speed.
Well, you wonder how Air Bear is missing those at 6'5". You've got a good look at it. And you can hear Jamie Dixon calling his team to slow down, slow down. They want to play this game in the 60s. That allows them to control tempo, to be able to get back and play good half-court defense and keep West Virginia from running in transition.
The game they lost to West Virginia was in the 60s this year. The game they won was in the 50s. Nice touch there by Sam Young. That's not as easy a shot as it looks.
And it was an excellent pass by Aaron Gray, who didn't rush things, took the double team and looked for his first option under the basket, was covered, and then he found Young.
The noisiest the folks in the blue and gold have been tonight. A block by Sam Young. Play on. Levance Fields to tie it.
Look at Ramon inside.
Gray puts a squeeze on it.
There you go.
Offensive foul, wave it off. Use the elbow.
I'll tell you what, though. Even if it's a foul, and Jamie Dixon is laughing because he doesn't believe it. But Aaron Gray is starting to get the formula right now.
Sam Young with a big block at the other end. Pitt back within a deuce. He's back here in New York. West Virginia leading Pittsburgh by 2. The Panthers trying to advance into the semifinals. Jamie Dixon is not the only head coach in the family, and not the only head coach in the family who's having some success. There's younger sister Maggie, first-year head coach at Army. And guess who's going to the big dance? The Black Knights winning the Women's Patriot League championship last night. Eddie Maggie's got a very close relationship with her big brother Jamie, coming here to New York to root him on here in this quarterfinal matchup with West Virginia. About 13 years between them, but they speak almost every day. Let's go to Mark Jones for more with the other Coach Dixon. Jonesy.
Hey, and what do you do when your little sister's team is in trouble? Well, little sister picks up the phone and calls big brother. That's what happened when Army was 5-7. And she asked Jamie, hey, what do I do at this point? His advice was, hey, make sure that you build your players up constantly. Don't think ever about tearing them down. Now, I also asked her a few moments ago, how are you guys similar? How are you different? She told me that she wants to eventually have her team play the type of defense that Pittsburgh plays right now. But she says she'll take the offense, the fact that they led the Patriot League in scoring this year. Guys, back to you.
All right, Jonesy, thank you. Well, the Pittsburgh men's program has been synonymous with good, tough physical play and defense the last several years. Sam Young with an offensive rebound on the putback. Pittsburgh has tied it. The Panthers now have the ball back. They have not led at any point in this game.
In West Virginia right now, the Pittsburgh defense forcing West Virginia to settle for three-point shots, not able to go inside out as you see Carl Krauser slow to get up.
Timeout taken by Pitt, tied at 38 here at MSG. Pittsburgh got a nice run here in the second half to get back into a tie with the West Virginia 38. The Panthers haven't led at any point of this game. One big reason they're in this game, the freshman Sam Young.
And Sam Young pressed into a starting role with LaVon Kendall coming down with a back problem. And again, he's not feeling any jitters. He's in there battling. You saw him hit a short jump shot, but he's playing within himself, doing all the things that he's been doing all year. And again, you show the athleticism, and there's a certain element of fearlessness in there. We talked about the experience factor with West Virginia, with guys who have been to the championship last year on the floor right now, versus Pitt with guys who weren't even here among the freshmen. And for those who were here, except for Carl Krauser, didn't play major roles.
First career start for Sam Young, 10 points, 8 rebounds, a perfect 5 for 5 from the floor. Young with another rebound, but called for a travel.
You know what? I'm sorry. You can't do that when you go up and down with three guys and you all fall down. Just because you get possession. I know that's the rule, but it's not fair.
So you're saying play on, he's allowed to still have possession?
I'm going to say play on, exactly.
Until, yeah.
Because he landed on top of players. He never hit the ground. It's like in the NFL, you know, if you land on top of guys, if you're not hitting the ground, you can get up and run. But this is not the NFL.
Well, and some people have said in recent years that a Pittsburgh basketball game is pretty close.
Look at Pittsnoggle battling Carl Krauser, who's not giving an inch. Look at Krauser. And he causes a travel.
Great job by Carl Krauser.
That's Bronx tough right there. Look at him right here. He's fronting, playing tough. And Pittsnoggle's got to realize that. Come on, you're a jump shooter. Just rise up and elevate. Instead, he tries to push him out of the way. Watch him try to nudge him out of the way right there. And Krauser, too strong, holds his ground and does a nice job of creating a turnover.
Krauser is, as we say in the business, good TV. From a television perspective, he'll be sorely missed at the college level.
Well, there's a guy, number 22, Antonio Graves, just passed up a couple of shots, but they need to get off. Played really well last year and able to hit some of those shots.
Weak side rebound, Antonio Graves. And Pittsburgh really getting after it on the offensive glass. Young has it taken away. Graves is there. And the Panthers full value for their first lead of the night.
And you know what? If they're going to let them play like that, that's going to work to Pittsburgh's advantage. The more physical team is going to gain the advantage.
And now the whistle blew, and the Pittsburgh players started going over to the bench as if it were a timeout. But I think Mike Kitts just wanted to get Pittsnoggle and Biggs to settle down a little bit. You make a great point, though, Len. The more physical this game gets, the more that favors Pittsburgh.
Well, you look here, excellent position down low. Biggs did a nice job of getting Pittsnoggle out of the way. Got to get down on the floor, though, a lot quicker than that, but it worked out for Pittsburgh.
Maggie Dixon, Jamie's younger sister, doing a little coaching, a little cheering, a little refereeing, a little politicking.
She's working on the way she works the rest for her tournament game.
Pittsburgh is now dominating West Virginia on the glass. We mentioned a little while ago they were only +3. They're about +13 right now.
And again, settling for the long shot. And you got Kevin Pittsnoggle at 6'11". He has some post-up skills. I'm surprised they're not trying to run things through him, particularly with a freshman guard and a man-to-man.
Yeah, Aaron Gray's on the bench. Terrell Biggs, 3 inches shorter than Pittsnoggle, is defending. Sam Young right into the double team, and Young is called for the offensive foul for using his left arm to try to hook around the defender. On Young, that is his third. Both Coach Dixons don't like that call. Take another look as we go to break. Pitt, though, other things going right in this league. And
well, he built it, and they're coming now.
Yeah, they are. Big crowds. This entire tournament sold out a couple of months ago. It'll be Syracuse and Georgetown in the first semifinal tomorrow night, 7 Eastern, right here on ESPN. Villanova against the winner of this game.
And see, there's Pittsnoggle with the opportunity to post up, but instead he's more comfortable stepping outside.
Well, he knows his game.
And that time, easy shot. Levance Fields, who was about 5'10", was the only one within range to guard him. Nice and well-executed play by West Virginia.
West Virginia's first field goal in almost 5 minutes. During the regular season, a 4-point win for Pittsburgh, a 5-point win for West Virginia. Fittingly, it's a very close game, a 1-point lead for the Mountaineers here on a neutral court.
Yeah, backyard brawl in somebody else's backyard.
Graves, count it. I think Carl Krauser's happy he came back for one more year of college. Has he been having some fun?
Oh, you know it. And again, I talked about Antonio Graves last year. Pretty good offensive player, shot 46% from beyond the arc. This year can't buy a basket from beyond there, but he's learned some other things, like put the ball on the floor. Averaged 8 points last year, only 4 this year. And to be honest, his time has been limited because of the growth of Levance Fields. But nevertheless, he's got some experience and can help you when he's out there.
Here at Madison Square Garden, West Virginia bringing the ball up the floor, down a deuce to Pittsburgh. Quarterfinal action of the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale here in New York. Along with Len Elmore and Mark Jones, I'm Dan Schulman, and we've got a good one going here in what they call the backyard brawl. Pittsburgh dominating on the glass. West Virginia shooting the three like crazy. The same story as the first 2 games between these 2 teams this year.
And again, he just saw that score by J.D. Collins, crafty senior. That's not a good pass by Carl Krauser. Couldn't even see Antonio Graves, just guessed where he was. And that's because of the height in that 1-3-1. You got Gansey in the middle when he's there, 6'5". Now Frank Young, Air Bear, you know, those guys, Beeline, they're all about 6'5", 6'6", difficult to see over.
Sports Center will follow our game tonight here on ESPN. Pittsnoggle is fouled by Antonio Graves and will be going to the line. Coming up on Sports Center after the game, Stuart Scott and John Anderson will bring you all the day's action and highlights. Tournament madness all across the country. The latest on Barry Bonds, a daily update it seems. And did Dante Culpepper get his wish? Pittsnoggle generally a very, very good free throw shooter at 86%. He misses, and that gets his coach to pacing. Last year, West Virginia, Len, as you well know, came here to the Big East Championship as the number 8 seed, a bubble team. They beat Providence, they beat Boston College, and then they beat Villanova to get all the way to the championship game before losing to Syracuse. They solidified their hold on an at-large and went all the way to the Elite 8. This is the first time West Virginia's had a bye in the Big East tournament. They're not used to being ranked this high, but they came in as the number 3 seed.
Well, no longer are they Cinderella. These guys are pegged as one of the favorites out here, obviously with a 3 seed. And it's a completely different mindset. You know, it's not us against the world anymore. You know, it's trying to live up to expectation.
Let's go to Mark Jones for more.
Yeah, I spoke with some of the players from West Virginia before the game, and they learned a lot from last year's experience about perseverance. Among the many problems they had were just getting here. It took them almost 16 hours because of weather and plane issues. Then, to add insult to injury, after one of their late-night games, several players got stuck in an elevator in the team hotel to add to their problems. Pittsnoggle saying afterwards, losing in the final was the worst feeling ever. This year, we want to seal the deal. Back to you guys.
All right, Mark, thank you. Pittsburgh got knocked out in their first game last year at the Big East tournament and also got knocked out in their first round NCAA game. So they want to seal the deal as well. Ronald Ramon keeps shooting like that. They just might.
And the athleticism of Antonio Graves on the penetration. The quickness forcing West Virginia now to kind of close those gaps off. And you got shooters like Ramon who can spot up. Those are the guys you look for when you penetrate.
As good a year as Gray has had, Pittsburgh a little more perimeter oriented, relying a little bit less on the inside guys than they have the last couple of years when the likes of Taft and Troutman were creating space inside. There's a post move for Pittsburgh.
That's what you want to see, and that's what he has to do now. It makes his outside game that much more effective.
Got ourselves a ball game here, under 9 to play in New York, tied at 46 as we revisit Pittsnoggle's play in the post.
But his prior field goal was from about 25 feet. Now he's playing much more the conventional position of a 6'11 guy. But here's the penetration you see from Graves. And Ronald Ramon, he's the guy you got to start looking for. You penetrate, he's got to get himself to an open spot where the penetrator can see him. Because it looks like he's got the hot hand.
Pittsnogle, by the way, now with a game-high 19. A mixture of 4 threes, 2 twos, and 3 free throws. How about that play? Krauser to the ultra-athletic Sam Young. And Pittsburgh goes back on top as they continue to trade the lead back and forth. A steal by Aaron Gray. Let's give the big fella some credit for getting his hand on that pass about 25 feet away from the basket.
And again, you play solid defense, you're always going to stay in the game, and you can make your own breaks.
Pittsnogle the foul as Krauser tried to turn the corner.
Again, against this 1-3-1, you have an opportunity to throw diagonally. Take a look at Sam Young right there. Here's the ball, diagonal pass, and when you have athletes, you can throw over the defense. And Krauser recognizes that. And remember, again, it's a short guy. That time, Darius Nichols on the baseline, and he can't get up in the air with the athletes.
And the reason John Beilein plays his point guard on that baseline is he needs somebody quick who's able to run back and forth from corner to corner to cut down on those cornered three-point shots.
But the risk is when a team can recognize they can go diagonally.
Gray is fouled. Will it be Young or will it be a Pittsnogle? I think it went on Young. Under 8 to play. Pittsburgh by 2. A spot in the semis on the line here in New York. Along with us for the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. All a part of Championship Week presented by 7-Up. Pittsburgh on top of West Virginia by 2. Len Elmo's going to show us what a tough job, whether it's J.D. Collins or Darius Nichols, the point guard has in this 1-3-1.
Well, you take a look at number 1 is back to you at the baseline of the zone. And as you referenced, Dan, his job is to go from corner to corner to try to protect. It's not really to guard Aaron Gray. You leave that to the ball pressure out front so the passer can't see. Look how quickly Collins has to get out to the guys in the corner. Make sure they don't get that wide open shot.
Meanwhile, moments ago, Mike Gansey left the West Virginia bench and went back to the locker room for some kind of medical attention. As we get more information, we'll pass it on to you. But Gansey, along with Pittsnogle, the most important players the Mountaineers have. They are the 2 first-team All-Big East performers on this West Virginia team.
Mike Gansey's had a tremendous year. You know, really kind of exceeded expectations. He had a tremendous end of the year last year. And this year, very consistent. And West Virginia's got to find a way to hold the fort.
Well, they have hardly any depth at all. They're basically a 7-man team, with only Beilein and Nichols coming off the bench with any regularity. Both of those guys are in the game already right now. They're basically down to 6 right now until Gansey gets back. Air Bear. Pittsnogle got Young in the air, then launches the 3, and Gray rips down the rebound. Aaron Gray with his 14th rebound of the game.
Pittsnogle, a rhythm shooter, had a guy running at him and forced him to put it on the floor. And that's why he didn't get the kind of look he wanted.
Now Ramon on the drive. Bounce pass inside. Gray had it taken away by Nichols. Quick hands by these West Virginia guards. Air Bear from the corner. Big 3 to tie it.
Early in the game, I was saying if anybody's going to shoot the 3, if you're playing defense, you want Air Bear 24%. But stepping up in a big game, as seniors do.
Stepping up with mom and dad in the house all the way from Germany, coming to see the Big East Championship. Gray with a much smaller man on him in Beilein. Swung it across to Fields. The floater is good. Pitt by 2.
That's good recognition by Aaron Gray, who once again took his time in the double team, turned and faced and located.
With Young and Fields, not to mention Biggs, the future's in good hands, it would appear, for Pittsburgh. Beilein misses the layup. Pittsburgh in transition. Krauser forcing the issue. Had it blocked by Air Bear.
Not a good play by Carl Krauser. That time he tried to do more than he was capable of doing with the defense set the way it was.
2-point game nearing the final 6 minutes. The winner gets Villanova in a semifinal tomorrow night here on ESPN. Young for the lead. Kept alive by Gray, and now Fields is going to walk it up the floor. There is no sign of Gansey having returned. Collins will check in now as Pittsburgh calls a 30-second timeout. As mentioned, the semifinals for the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale begin tomorrow evening at 7 Eastern. And this has a familiar ring to it. Syracuse, fresh off an upset over UConn, will take on Georgetown, which defeated Marquette. It'll be the Orange and the Hoyas in one semifinal. And then our second semifinal again here on ESPN. The Villanova Wildcats, who beat Rutgers by 32 tonight in their quarterfinal, taking on the winner of this game. Villanova is ranked second in the country. Never before have they been the top-ranked team in the country. With number 1 UConn losing today, that's a possibility. And Villanova could be looking at the top overall seed going into the NCAA tournament. They know they're going to go to the Wachovia and play in Philly in the first couple of rounds. They'd like to go to Washington for the regional should they get that far and stay on the East Coast, stay close to home. But Jay Wright's team keeps answering all the challenges, don't they, Len?
Well, absolutely. And again, you don't think that's incentive enough. You think because you're already in the tournament, that should be enough. Imagine being able to tell your grandchildren you're not only number 1 in the country, but you also won the Big East Championship all in the same week.
That is a held ball, and it'll stay at this end of the floor. The UConn loss, by the way, in all likelihood, what it'll mean to them, they're still going to get a number 1 seed. What it'll likely mean is they're not going to go to Washington for what we used to know as the East Regional, but now called the Washington Regional. Again, should they get that far, they might wind up somewhere else like Minneapolis or Oakland, on the assumption that Duke will go to Atlanta as they try to keep the top seeds as close to home as possible. That hit about 3 people. Reggie Greenwood says we're going the other way now. Pittsburgh 51, West Virginia 49, Mountaineer basketball. Rubber match, if you will, of a 3-game series this year, each team winning on its home floor during the regular season. Let's go to Mark Jones with an update on Mike Gansey.
Yeah, West Virginia without one of their key cogs right now being worked on by one of the team doctors in the locker room with stomach cramps, I'm told. He also has an abdominal strain, which is a separate issue. They say he is questionable as to whether he returns to the game, guys.
Well, in Willis Reed-like fashion here at Madison Square Garden, here comes Mr. Gansey grimacing as he walks. Maybe not quite Willis Reed-like fashion. Joe Airbear commits the foul, his third, but as Mark mentioned, and as West Virginia fans know, Mike Gansey means a whole lot to this team. Walking back toward the bench, he's going to sit down on the bench. Young with 2 more.
Boy, nice look by Aaron Gray. He's finally slowed it down a little bit. Rather than being in a hurry, he's making decisions, but making them quickly and playing in a determined fashion.
And Sam Young making the most of his first career start in place of the injured Levon Kendall. Frank Young says anything that Young can do, I can do better.
And that's what I said before. Don't think about West Virginia as purely a 3-point shooting team. And they take what you give them. And if you've got a lane, they've got guys that can drive it.
2-point game, 4.5 to go. Fields to Gray. Hesitated a little bit, almost searching for the contact that wasn't there yet, but he did manage to finish.
And again, can't say enough about the fact that he's now settled into playing ball.
15 points, 14 rebounds for the 7-footer. He's now got 16 double-doubles this year to lead the Big East. Frank Young for 3. Gray had it. Now Graves comes up with it for Pittsburgh. Boy, bodies are getting up slowly. There are some tired, banged-up people limping and grimacing in this game right now.
And I like the way Krauser pushed the ball up, knowing that 2 West Virginia guys were on the floor. Now, to Airbear and Beeline's credit, they got up and hustled back. But Krauser was exploring the defense, looking to take any advantage he could.
Under 4 to go. Pittsburgh with the ball in a 4-point lead, having trailed most of the night. There's a push called on Frank Young. Sam Young, a big story here tonight for Pittsburgh. The big fella, Aaron Gray, putting it all together. Double-double for him. Pitt by 4. All right, Reese, thank you. 3:38 to go here. 4-point lead for Pittsburgh over West Virginia here at the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Tonight's telecast is available in stunning high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Dish Network. Double-double for Aaron Gray, double-double for Sam Young. Pittsburgh asserting itself in the paint thanks to those 2 guys. They trailed the entire first half, and well into the second half, they've now got a slender 4-point lead and the ball. 3.5 to go. Krauser spins, looking for Young up top, double teamed, and forced to use a timeout.
Paul Krauser has a habit sometimes of dribbling into trouble. He's got so much confidence about himself that he thinks he can escape. But he gets in a lot of trouble and puts pressure on his team, and that's a timeout that, quite honestly, they might be looking for.
Sports Center coming up next year on ESPN with Stuart Scott and John Anderson. A Barry Bonds update, a Dante Culpepper update, in addition to all the madness from championship week. Well, we've talked about all the points in the paint for Pittsburgh. Let's visually show you how they've gotten it done.
Well, Pittsburgh's done a nice job of throwing over the defense. The big Aaron Gray, who's playing much bigger than he did in the first half. And again, Sam Young, even whenever Pittsburgh gets a chance for that diagonal pass against that zone, they're looking for it. And they got guys that you can throw up near the rim towards, and they'll go get it. And Aaron Gray, for all the problems he had early about putting the ball in the basket, still got pretty good hands.
15 on the shot clock as Pittsburgh inbounds. Ramon calling for the ball, didn't get it. Shot clock under 10. Fields trying to shake Collins. Shot clock at 3. Ramon. Rebound, Fields. A fresh 35 for the Panthers.
Long shot, long rebound. Leave it to the freshman to figure that out.
Mike Yancey back on the West Virginia bench with some combination of an abdominal strain and stomach cramps, not in the game and not looking like he's getting ready to check in at any point.
A tough situation with John Beilein, although probably not, thinking about Gansey's health first.
Great cut by Ramon. Great feed by Fields. Pittsburgh by 6.
And in thinking about Gansey's health, also thinking about the NCAA tournament upcoming, although the Big East tournament's important enough.
Pittsnoggle, jump hook. Rebound, Sam Young. What a game he has had in his first career start. Frank Young struggling to get back into the play, grimacing after he fell awkwardly under the basket and limping a little bit right now on D.
And Pittsburgh looking to melt the clock. Try to use up the whole amount of time. 15 seconds left on the shot clock.
This would be a pretty impressive win for the Panthers, given the comeback and given that one of their starters, Levon Kendall, is back in the hotel with a back spasm.
Ray fighting. Nice job by Pittsnoggle to stay with him.
The way they shoot the 3, they're not done yet. Lots of time for the Mountaineers.
Oh, this is nothing for West Virginia.
Pittsnoggle. 3-point game.
There's nothing for them. They're used to this.
22 points for Kevin Pittsnoggle.
Again, just a nice job off the screen. Pittsnoggle pops. Usually you screen and roll. Pittsnoggle screens and pops.
His 5th 3 of the game. He is West Virginia's all-time leader in that department. Time now to take a look at our Nike game track. Going to get a good second half for Pittsburgh after West Virginia led through the entire first half. A couple of double-doubles. Aaron Gray and Sam Young. A huge rebounding advantage as expected. West Virginia 10 for 30. That's about par for the course for them. They take a ton of threes. They actually don't make a great percentage. About 34% on the year. They're right about where they normally are. And you know they've got a few more left in them in the last minute 34 of this game.
Well, you talk about their percentage. They take enough of them, and 34%, if you go by the 40-60 rule, that 40% of three-point shots is the equivalent of shooting 60% of two-point shots. They're not doing too bad, and I know you had the math last time, so give us the answer again. Let me look over your
34, about 51.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
and no coach would argue with 51% field goal.
That's right.
What we haven't seen a whole lot from West Virginia tonight is usually they're good for a few backdoor layups. We haven't really seen them be able to get those going.
Well, that's been the pressure on the ball by Pittsburgh and the recognition that that's where they're going. Pittsburgh's got great defensive strategy and scheme, very fundamentally sound.
Beilein the foul. West Virginia's over the limit, so Pittsburgh's going to have to start shooting some free throws here. And Carl Krauser, who wants nobody else to be at the line but Carl Krauser. He wants to be there when it matters the most, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
I know.
He wants to to take charge and be the man and be the one to lead his teammates to victory. You saw the X sign as he crosses his arm. X for the Bronx, where he's from. He loves playing in this town. He loves playing in this building.
Don't let the grand total of 6 points fool you about Krauser's performance tonight. I mean, he's been a leader. Ball penetration, ball movement, playing strong defense.
Collins and Krauser, a lot of physical play between them, and Krauser gets called for the foul. That's just the 5th team foul on Pittsburgh.
And you just love the angst on his face whenever he's called for a foul. You know, if you're an official, you call a foul on Carr, you start to feel guilty.
Patrick Beeline, his first 3 of the night. Timeout, West Virginia. The coach's son has some deep, deep range.
I believe West Virginia has 2 timeouts left, and Pittsburgh has 1. And we mentioned that timeout Krauser had to call. As we look at Patrick Beeline again behind the pro line. That one timeout that Carl Krauser had to call because he dribbled into trouble might be a timeout that Jamie Dixon would love to use coming here down the stretch.
Well, they call it the backyard brawl. We're not in either backyard right now in a neutral court. It's been a bit like a brawl at times. Not surprisingly, though, it's a very close game. These are 2 evenly matched teams.
Well, they certainly are, and evenly matched in a way that they're pretty much polar opposites. But West Virginia loves to run spread offense and get their big guys outside shooting threes and good ball movement. Pittsburgh is the kind of team that'll break you down off the dribble. Sometimes they'll throw over the defense to utilize the athleticism and length that they have. And, you know, they do it 2 different ways, but if you look at the score, they both pretty much get it done.
The ball into the hands of Krauser, who's going to shoot more free throws. If you're West Virginia, Aaron Gray is the guy you'd like to send to the line, not Krauser. Krauser 72%, not great, but boy, he seems to have a knack for at times struggling to shoot the ball for about 38 minutes. But when the chips are down and the clock is running out, Krauser is a big shot maker at the end of the game.
Well, that's belief in yourself.
1-1.
Nobody ever said Carl Krauser lacked self-confidence.
No. He's made 3 in a row as he and Beeline have a conversation. 2 of the guys in this league who love to talk. One of them is going to get a chance to have a conversation with Kyle Lowry tomorrow night in the semifinals. And 2 more big free throws for Carl Krauser.
And neither one of them are going to enjoy it very much.
Semifinals tomorrow night here on ESPN. Syracuse, Georgetown, and Villanova against the winner of this game. Gray, another rebound. And Gray, I believe, was fouled before he got rid of it. Yeah, so Aaron Gray will go to the line for Pittsburgh.
Remember, I talked about going at it differently. Patrick Beeline far more comfortable shooting 25 feet away from the basket than making layups. Same thing with Joe Airbear. We missed a few layups early in the game. It's kind of inexplainable.
John Beeline can't figure it out either. Aaron Gray, 15 points, 15 rebounds, a 62% free throw shooter on the season. 9th team foul on West Virginia, so again, it's 1 in the bonus.
Weird rotation and all. Aaron Gray puts it down.
Mike Gansey unable to return to this game after leaving with some kind of an abdominal problem several minutes ago. Give the big man some credit. Pittsburgh's made 6 consecutive free throws their last 3 times down the floor.
Made a 2-possession ball game right here, and they're forcing layups and taking away the 3. I told you what the defense does. They've done a terrific job all game.
Krauser fouled by Pittsnoggle, and Pittsburgh can smell it now.
You see Krauser's reaction right there, and he got a stare from one of the officials, and that's what he's telling him. Stop it. No taunting. Krauser recognized that, and his likable personality probably helped him in that situation right there.
And right away he started saying, my bad, my fault. Sports Center next here on ESPN as soon as this game is over. Pittsburgh has upped to a 7-point lead. They were down 7 at the half. We'll have post-game coverage of this game over on ESPN News.
After the Super Bowl win by the Steelers, maybe there's a little magic dust left over.
Well, keep in mind, in the Big East, 16 teams, each team did not play 2 other teams in the league. Pittsburgh and Villanova did not meet in the regular season. Ramon with an acrobatic rebound, and he's going to shoot free throws, and it's all but over now. An impressive comeback for Pittsburgh. They showed a lot of character in this game here tonight.
And again, we talked about the experience factor. West Virginia last year, Cinderella, the darlings, the upstarts. This year, they were the marked team, number 3 seed, one of the favorites. And Pittsburgh came in here with a relatively large amount of youth and inexperience on their team as well. And down the stretch, it came down to who was going to play the better defense, who was better able to execute against the other guy's defense. And Pitt won that battle.
Ramon makes it a 9-point game. West Virginia's largest lead.
That is not smart.
What is he doing? Getting a little carried away, as he sometimes does.
And Jamie Dixon had to cover his mouth because I know what he was thinking and saying.
A 21-point turnaround in this game. The Mountaineers led by as many as a dozen back in the first half.
Fortunately for Pittsburgh, they're not in the penalty. But maybe it wasn't so bad after all.
Collins for 3. Krauser. Gray with the slam. How about that? Aaron Gray up to 19. Pitt fans on their feet. The Panthers are going to the semis to take on Villanova tomorrow night. No basket after the buzzer. Carl Krauser in Pittsburgh coming back from a 12-point first half deficit to beat their arch rivals from Morgantown and advance to the semifinals. Tomorrow night at 7 Eastern, we'll have Syracuse and Georgetown, and then at 9 Eastern, Villanova and Pittsburgh. What a night of basketball it should be here in New York. The Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Again, the final tonight, Pittsburgh 68, West Virginia 57. Sports Center with Stuart Scott and John Anderson.